I'm Jim from Come Play With Us. In this video, I'm going to be reviewing Unsettled from Orange Nebula. This is a 1 to 4 player co-op game in which you are scientists stranded on some strange and unusual world. In this game, you have to discover a way to repair your ship and leave the planet, in most cases. The interesting thing about this game is it is a framework. So in the base game, you're going to get these two planets, Gracchus and what's this one called? Winora. And they're two very different worlds that you're going to have to explore and solve puzzles on. And so basically every game, you're getting a framework. So basically every game is going to be different. Every planet box is going to present you with new challenges and a new world and almost an entirely new game and mechanics and how to play based on a base framework of mechanics. As usual, I will not be doing a full overview of this game. I have done a playthrough on my channel, so if you want to see how this game plays, I'll link down to it in the show notes below. So let's start by talking about the components for this game. This is the second game I've purchased from Orange Nebula. I also have Vindication, which is one of my favorite games of all time. So if you've played Vindication, then the component quality is similar to that. You'll notice they have the same kind of style, same kind of big chunky dice, same kind of, not quite standard cards with weird edges on them and stuff like that. Which, they look neat and everything, but if you're a sleever like I am, it's a little annoying because it makes it hard to sleeve. Although because this game is a framework game, similar to Final Girl, so if you've played Final Girl, it's the modular nature of this is similar to that. You probably don't need to sleeve this because you're going to be swapping the cards out every time you play a different planet. So they won't be the same cards all the time. Even though because they're odd sizes, I'm not going to sleeve these cards. They're fairly decent quality cards. They're good and thick. I think they'll stand up pretty good. You don't shuffle them a lot, so wouldn't worry about that too much. They are nice looking cards. They got easy to read, and they got good art on them. You do have a modular board in the middle of this game, and it's card based, so these are just like regular kind of cards, so they're not thick cardboard or anything like that. But you do need to shuffle them and randomize them up and deal them out. And in some planets, in this planet they're kind of laid out in a map at the beginning, but other planets they may be dealt out as you go. So it depends on which type of planet you're playing. The strange thing about this game is it has a lot of dice in them, but you don't really roll many of them. The only dice you roll in the game are these dice, which give you resources on the various earth tiles. Otherwise, the rest of the dice in this game are just used to mark actions. Like these cubes here are used basically as workers. You put them on the various action spots that you have to put them, and they have kind of an action value, and the spot you put it on will tell you how many action points you need, and you'll dial this down like that when you place it to use the action to denote that you've used the action point. And the kind of the solid symbol on the side dice just indicates what type of die it is, which comes into play with some of the action spots. They'll give you bonuses if you place a certain type of die on it. So there's a bit of that going on. And this other cube-like die, same thing. It's just used to mark progress of the various types of science that you can learn. So yeah, weird. Lots of dice, but not much rolling. Yeah, and there's lots of tokens. The tokens are nice. You'll get a different set of tokens in every world. So these tokens are the discoveries. So you get a set of these for every world, and they'll be different for every world you play. And then you'll also get a new, different set of cards for your breakthroughs, which is like things that you learn as you're discovering, learning your science and getting, they call it comprehension. When you get comprehension in a certain type of science, you'll get a breakthrough, and the breakthroughs change from world to world. And then the discoveries come with these anomaly cards, which again, these switch out for the discoveries and the anomalies switch out for every game. So there's a lot of variety here in the different worlds you will play, almost like a whole new game every time. And each world is replayable as well. There's 3 scenarios for each world, so you can play each world 3 times with that, and it'll be like a completely different things that you're doing. And even replaying the scenarios is not a big deal. There's a lot of variety within the game, within the scenario itself. So you can replay the same scenarios and see different things, tackle them in different ways. You probably will have to play a lot of the scenarios again because they are quite complex, and you know, this is a difficult co-op game. So if you like challenging co-op games, this one does give you that. Other components, yeah, the components will differ a little bit for each world. So that, you know, this one came with this extra tile here and some other components. So it all depends on the world. They could throw anything they want really in there to change up each of the worlds. The player boards are dual layer and they're quite thick, really good cardboard stock. So these are really nice and they're functional. So they work fairly well, and you'll get some of these tiles that go on. These ones, yeah, they kind of just sit on top here. They do move and stuff, so the only thing with these is they cover up on your action spots and they're not dual layered, so that's kind of weird. I don't know how else they could have done that really, unless they made this whole square here dual layered and this kind of sat in it maybe. But yeah, I do find that a little awkward, you know, component wise, but it's just a minor quibble. Otherwise, I think that the components here are pretty spectacular. The minis you get are really nice. You get one for each of the 4 different colored astronauts, and you get the Luna here, which is the robot that helps you out. She's pretty nice. Those are good quality. The only strange thing probably is all these game trays that are in the game. So this game is a massive table hog, so you have to put all these trays out. It's not a very good use of space. So these are kind of a double-edged sword. So they make the game quick and easy to set up, which is a major bonus because it's a complex game, but you can it sets up in like 5 minutes, even, you know, with the planets. And you know, because you just put everything back in the tray and you just stack these back in the boxes, and you don't have to set all these little tokens out and stuff. So that's nice, but they take up ton of space on the table. I mean, I have a pretty large table here, and I'm not sure how I would play this 4-player because it just takes up so much space. 2-player, no problem, but 4 would be kind of like moving stuff around. I mean, I don't even have it laid out how they recommend you lay it out in the rulebook because there's just not enough space on that table to lay it out that way. And I have a big table, so yeah, table. It's a table hog as designed, but I mean, if yeah, I mean, you could get around it by not using these things. You could just stack the discovery, like this tray here. This is just, I mean, these discoveries you could just stack them in a pile and search through them and stack, and you know, put the cart in. So you could get around it and take up a lot less space, minus the trays, but then you're kind of losing the value of the quick setup. So it is what it is. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the mechanics here. The main mechanic of the game is gaining insight. And insight will move your insight cube up here. And whenever this insight cube wraps around, so it gets to the top and moves around, then you will gain comprehension in whatever type of science that you're focusing on right now. And whenever you get comprehension, you draw a related card to that comprehension, and you get a breakthrough, which will give you a special action or ability or passive ability or something for the rest of the game. So that's one of the main things you want to be doing is getting different types of comprehension and getting breakthroughs, and that will kind of set you up for how you can tackle the problem of the game. So I really enjoy this system. This is a really cool system. There's 3 types of sciences. So which ones do you want to go for first? Sometimes you can abandon a science to start over. Not recommended, but that is something you could do. There's 3 different ones, but you've got 4 slots, so you could learn 4 things. So you can double up on one. I mean, I guess you could triple up and stuff on them if you want to really focus on one type for each character or something like that. So there's lots of possibilities here with that mechanic on getting special abilities and stuff. The other really cool mechanic in this is the discovery system. So one of your actions you take lets you investigate one of these. They call these nodes, which is the planet tiles, and you can investigate each one once, and then when you do, you flip over one of these opportunity cards, and it will present you with some kind of other action that you can do to discover something. One of these, so you discover one of these tiles. So like this one here, I've got a mist stone or whatever, and then along with that, you're going to draw an anomaly card, and you pair those two things together. And again, these things are all different for every planet you play, and those will give you a tag generally, and the tags are used, with various mechanics within the game that might help you or hinder you. And it also gives you a one-time ability that you can use, like an instant card that you can use at any time. That's a really cool system too. So the mixture of those two gives you a lot of different things that you can go for. It gives you that exploration and discovery aspect in the game. And then it has the basic resource management. So you've got three different resources you're managing. You also have to build these huts, the research huts on the planet. So the planet will have build spaces like this one here, and then you're going to you can build these huts on these build spaces, which will usually they factor into the scenario somehow, but they also give you an ability for a free action for the rest of the game that allows you to spend your resources to do various things. So that's pretty cool. Part about searching out here, find a place to build your research huts, which ones do you want to build, that kind of thing. And then the main mechanic of the game is the timer. So the game, you're on a timer, and that kind of adds the tension to the game. So you got to be very efficient in your actions and that kind of thing to solve the scenario in time. The other thing here is you're managing trust. So there's you're either high trust or low trust, and so each character will get a special action that none of the other characters have, and it covers up one of your base actions. There's a big stack of those in the game. You can draft them if you want at the beginning of the game, or randomly pick them however you want to do it. And when you're in high trust, the white side's up, and it'll cover one action. And then when you move to low trust, these flip and they cover a different action. Like this one will cover investigate, and it basically changes the base action. So there's some strategy in there, because it's not like when you're in low trust that the action becomes worse or anything like that. It's just different. So it might give you a different bonus that you need, and you might actually want to be in low trust for a while to take advantage of that special action. So that's another really kind of interesting twist in this game, this low trust, high trust thing. Doing things that give you to get your trust back up, doing things to get you, managing the high trust and low trust. That's pretty much all I want to say about the mechanic. I mean, of course, there's exploration in the game too. You're gonna explore the board and discover spaces. That's not terribly interesting, I'll say, for this game, because you do use the same map cards for all three scenarios on the world. So you'll probably see them. You will see them all the first time you play your first scenario. So there's no big mystery there, and then you'll probably get to know them by the time you're done playing the world. You'll have them all memorized and know which ones you want to go for and try to find and stuff like that. So there's exploration the very first time you play the first scenario. It might be cool to see the new tiles, but you'll quickly become familiar with them. So there's not a ton of mystery there, and there's probably not a ton of mystery in the game, because once you play your first scenario or two on a world, you'll know what all the cards are and stuff like that. So there's a little surprise in there, but not much. And I should stress, this is not a campaign game. Every scenario is individual unto itself, so they don't lead into each other or anything like that. There's no progression from one scenario to the other. The story, I mean, I have not played through this full planet yet that I've got on the table here, but this Winora one I played through them all, and the different scenarios do kind of play off each other a little bit. I mean, you don't carry anything into it. You're starting a full new game every time you start a new scenario, as if you've never been there. But the story did seem to have a link a little bit. So there's a little bit of that, and there's not a ton of story in this game. There's just little blurbs here and there about things when you discover things. Each world will have a little story about it on the front of the rule book, and then the scenario that you're playing will have a little story, and then there's little bits of story as you progress through the different goals and stuff. And of course, on the discoveries you make, there's some interesting things and stuff like that. Okay, so that's everything I want to talk to you about the mechanics. So let's talk now about things I don't like about this game, and I'm gonna have a very hard time talking about this because there is not much I can say that I don't like about this game. Um, yeah, it's just it is a little tight. So if you're not a fan of complicated co-ops, I played through the all the three scenarios in this one, and my win ratio, I won one and lost the two, but they were all very close. I got right down to the end, like basically down to the last turn, or maybe I needed one more turn to finish to win the scenario. So it is very tight. It seems to be very tight every time, and it's just one small decision you made, a little inefficient here or there, that can lose you the scenario. So this is a very tight game. So if you don't like really games where you have to be really efficient with your actions and stuff like that, this might not be for you. But there are ways to, like these, the scarab here. There's a few of these tiles, and you can play with the other side of these, which will make the game easier or harder. So lets you adjust the difficulty a little bit. I've not tried those yet. I find the difficulty in this game exactly right, just playing it the normal way. But if you want to adjust it to make it a bit easier or make it a bit harder, that is in there for you. I already mentioned it is a table hog, so yeah, it takes up a little bit too much room for my taste. So that's probably the other thing I don't like about it. You do need a lot of space, and playing this with four people might be a challenge to get everything on the table. But I mean, you don't really, well, you do have like some stuff here, because I mean the player board, there's not much here, but when you start getting the breakthroughs and the anomalies, those cards stack here. So that's when you start kind of needing more space to lay those cards out. And if you watch my playthrough, you'll see I just kept a stack of them off camera because I couldn't get it all into the shot. So yeah, it is quite a table hog. That's really all I have to say about things that I don't like about this game. So what do I like about this game? There's so much to like about this game. Now a bit of background. I love puzzle games, so I like games that present you with a puzzle, and you can sit there and think about different ways to do things. That's this game in space. So this every planet is a puzzle that you need to figure out, every scenario, like how am I going to do this? There's multiple ways to solve each of them. You can do, there's a lot of room for creativity in how you play here, which special action do you want to use for the scenario? I mean, once you play the scenario a couple of times, then you can kind of prep and say, okay, I think we need these special actions, and use them. How to manipulate the trust, and the low trust, the high trust, to flip these when you need the right actions available. Managing your resources, like actions and time are also a resource in this. So you got to be very focused on making sure that you're not using too much time, because you got to be careful with that. But at the same time, you can't be afraid to use time, because you need to get things done. There is a little bit, I love exploration in games, and there is a little bit of exploration here. I love the discovery part. Finding, making those discoveries and the anomalies, making those breakthroughs, and going, oh, cool, I got this new action. What can I do with this new action? Oh, I got to get this resource, because you need to use the breakthroughs use your resources. So then you got to figure out, okay, I've got this cool action, now I got to get some resources so I can use this action to do this thing and that. And yeah, I love all of that. So if you love puzzles in games, this whole game is a puzzle. A planet is basically a puzzle. You got to figure out how to best use the resources the planet has to offer to meet the goals that are presented before you. Super fun. Lots of cooperation in this. To play. If you're going to play this solo, I was playing. I can't even remember in the rules if you have to play two-handed, but I would think you'd have to play two-handed. I mean, you have Luna, who helps you. She can scout stuff up for you, but you literally have to be sometimes on opposite ends of the map, or you won't finish it. So yeah, I think you have to play with. Don't quote me on that, but I think you have to play with two characters. But it's really, I would play this always with two. It is really easy to run both. I mean, I guess you could probably even run 3 or 4, because like I said, you're just the cards are managing on the side, so there's not much else you're managing here with the character board. So it is quite smooth. Setup's a breeze. Doesn't take long to set up and tear down. I do not like the odd size box because it doesn't fit on my shelf very well, but it does store, like, the stuff in it stores very well. So that, I like how it's organized. That's pretty good. These two go in the main box, but then the problem becomes when you start collecting these. I mean, I think there's 7 or 8 of these now or something like that. Where are you going to store those? I don't think there's a big box solution for this yet. I'm sure they'll come up with one eventually. But yeah, so you're gonna have a bunch of these things when when you start collecting those. But I think there's a lot of game in here. You've got many. I mean, it takes about somewhere about hour, half, 2 hours, something to play one scenario in these. So just one run through in here, you've got about 6 hours of play time. So 12 hours, say, to get through just the 2 planets in here. So and I would for sure replay these many times. Like it's very replayable, just because you solved it once. I mean, you could up the difficulty and try harder, but even just going through it another time, because you're going to see different things are going to come out differently. You're going to find different discoveries. You're going to make different breakthroughs, which will give you a different mix of actions to use. So very, very replayable. Yeah, I have to say this is probably one of my favorite sci-fi games. I mean, I love sci-fi games too. So the fact, and this is kind of one of my favorite themes, like kind of a Lost in Space or the Martian kind of theme where you're sciencing things up. This is not a game where you're running around and shooting things. That's not, if that's the type of game you're looking for, that's not here. This is pure puzzle, and everything you got to solve with science. So this is not a run and gun game at all. Like I said, you don't roll these dice. The dice are action cubes, and that's about it. Yeah, so what's my final thoughts on this game? This game is going to be one of my favorite games in my collection. I am giving this game a 9. I think this is going to stay in my collection for a long time. I'm going to start looking for I mean, one of the problems with this game is it's not very available at retail. I did not kickstart this. I got this at retail from an online retailer. I mean, I don't know if there's a difference between the Kickstarter and this version. I don't know if this is considered a retail version or not. So, but yeah, so it has been hard to find because I didn't Kickstart it. So I think it's been through 2 Kickstarters before I was able to get it at retail. And then finding these are hard too. I think I've been looking, and there's one store that has one other planet. So yeah, a little hard to find, and I think that's because it's just showing up in retail now, and so people are snapping them like that. But hopefully it becomes more available, and can get into more people's hands, who don't want to kickstart things. But yeah, really great game, really great system. Can't wait to try out other planets. They're all really interesting and new opportunities. So really love this one. And as usual, thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.